Hello and welcome to the Pikku Kimalainen knitting podcast. My name is Rachel Mariama and I'm your host. This is episode 4 and it's been quite a long time between episodes. I've just been really busy. It's spring break passed and where I work, spring break is awful. It is so busy for like pretty much a month straight. So yeah, I've been busy with that, and I obviously, if you couldn't tell, I moved. So now I have a better space to record in. But the consequences of being really busy means that I don't necessarily have a lot of knitting that I've been working on. In fact, I don't have any finished objects. But I have been working a little bit here and there on things as I have time. And honestly, some days I've just been so tired. I just, eat and go straight to bed, and it's been like that for quite a while. So things are finally toning down. But I am going on a trip soon back to Montana. So I'm trying to, I guess, sort of catch up on all of my projects and get situated in my new apartment. And you guys don't see it, but everything in front of me is absolutely chaotic. So I think I'm just gonna get a bookshelf before I go away for 2 weeks, and then at least that'll be organized. Right now I am making a video on how I'm organizing my closet, and that's going pretty well. Being a minimalist, I get kind of nitpicky about how things are sometimes with my boyfriend's stuff. So I decided to sort of let him have full rule over the, I guess, designated closet for clothing, and I took over a closet that in the hallway and sort of am transforming it into my own personal sort of walk-in closet. And I'm pretty excited about that. It's turning out so great. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of sewing actually, and I have about 3 sewing finished objects to show today just from reconstructing thrifted clothes. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to show you guys that stuff. And so I guess we can just jump straight into works in progress. And I won't show all of my works in progress today just because I've only really been working on about 2 things, and actually some big changes happened with one of my works in progress, so that is actually pretty exciting. So I think I should show you guys my Zweig sweater first. And I did some changes to the colorwork section, and I cropped the sweater so it won't look exactly like other people's finished objects. I am currently working on, well, I mean, the charts are all written out for the moons in this project, but I do want to sort of digitize them before I put them up on my show notes, and I'll include some little clues as to how you can work this chart into the existing Zweig pattern. But I don't want to give too much away about that knitting pattern since it is paid for. So yeah, it's in one of my handmade project bags, and this was just made out of a, I guess, reclaimed jacket, winter jacket. And it's got some of my favorite pins on here, if it will focus. This one is from, what is his name? Mark Cross. He's one of my favorite tattoo artists. And I don't remember where this one's from, but I'll leave a link to it down below. I tend to be collecting a lot of snake-themed enamel pins recently. I think I just love the negative space they create. This one I got from a Depop shop that sold vintage pins, and I think it is so cute. And then this is just my quick end pin. So I am almost done with it. I just have to finish some of the, what do you call it? Colorwork section. I had knit this up. So the circles were in stranded colorwork, so you can see the floats here. But I wasn't quite settled on how I wanted the moons to look, so I actually saved the actual phases to be put onto the sweater with, I believe intarsia knitting. Anyways, I used the Kitchener stitch just to sort of replicate the classic knit stitch. And right now it's not blocked out, so they look a little bit messy. And I would recommend, before you knit this sweater and colorwork chart, to actually knit the whole moon phase chart and not go back over it with duplicate stitch. It will make your life a lot easier, and your floats will look a lot more pretty. But I'll just show you, I guess, the floats. So here you can see I haven't gone over the sweater with the double duplicate stitch yet. I can't talk, it's been a while. And so the floats are pretty neat. I have picked up the stitches or the floats in certain areas just because I didn't want those big long loops catching on my fingers. That is the worst thing in the world. And here is where I started doing the duplicate stitch, and you can see it gets a little bit more messy, but it isn't too bad, and it still retains quite a bit stretch. And so this does comfortably fit over my shoulders. I can lift up my arms without it sort of bunching up from tension from the duplicate stitch, because of course when you're putting extra yarn over existing stitches, you are going to get a slightly more dense, less flexible fabric. And so just to sort of help in preventing that, I did block out this top section first before I started going over the little circles to create moon phases. And I initially didn't realize this when I started to knit up the moon phase. I had placed the circles in such a way where I will not have, I guess, this moon centered. It's a little bit skewed off to the left, if you can't tell. So I'll include notes on how you can get that centered. But what I did wrong is at the beginning of the round, which starts on the shoulder, I started the moon. So the moons are sort of placed 1, 2, rather than being centered on the shoulder. So in order to get it centered, you'll probably have to start knitting the colorwork chart pattern a little bit sooner, before the beginning of the round, just to prevent any sort of skewing off to the left happening. Although I kind of like it. I'm really playing around with asymmetry, and I think the moon phase pattern lends itself pretty well to asymmetry in this sweater. If I were to design a moon phase sweater, which has always been on my mind, I really want to design a colorwork moon phase sweater with branches and acorns. This was sort of a test run for me. I definitely will have that new moon centered. And if you can see, it sort of goes out, so you get 2 full cycles. And I'm not quite finished with the back. Here you can see some ends. And here's the full moon. I actually did the full moon in a different colorway, but I didn't like it, so I switched back to this colorway, I believe Pressed Flowers by Farmer's Daughter Fibers. This is Sand Dollar by Valkyrie Fibers. Oh my goodness, I feel a little bit congested. I'm not sure if it's allergies, although my allergies haven't been as bad down here in Tennessee as they were up in Montana around this time, so that's kind of strange. It might have something to do with the AC just sort of filtering the air. But I am a little out of breath as well. I think I'm just tired. But I absolutely love how this sweater's turning out, and just talking about it sort of gives me a bit more motivation to continue working on it. Again, this is the Zweig sweater by Caitln Hunter, Boylan Knitworks. I love all of her designs so much, and I'm planning to cast on maybe 4 other of her designs sometime this year, just because they're so beautiful and I love her aesthetic so much. But I'm so excited. So as you can see, it is cropped. It hits just by my belly button, and this will work really well, I think, with nice oversized shirts such as this one that still have a lot of given the fabric in this shirt is very loose and drapey, and I think it will look okay with this cropped sweater. I did see Andy Satterland design one or style one of her cropped sweaters with a shirt like this, and I actually really loved the look of the way the outfit turned out. I liked the silhouette, so I'm a bit more confident in, I guess, pairing these two together, even though the sweater isn't quite as long as I usually would wear one with shirts like this sticking out. But yeah, I've just been really struggling with these sleeves, and I'm almost done with them. I think one of the reasons why I've been taking so long on these sleeves is because I'm knitting them 2 at a time. So although I have gotten quite a bit of work done on these, it just, there's an ice cream man outside. Okay, sorry. Ice cream truck. That's cute. I really like where I live. Ooh, drop stitches. I live on the 1st floor, and it's sort of a wooded community, so I can open up my doors in the morning and listen to the birds, and like there's rabbits that just sort of hang out on my front steps. It's so cute. Sorry for that tangent. But yeah, these are almost done. I'm just starting the decreases on this sleeve, and I didn't like the way the sleeves turned out in the pattern. She's got it to where the sleeves are a little bit puffy with the ribbing, and just how the decreases are made. A lot of decreases are sort of concentrated up towards the ribbing, so it creates a really puffy sleeve, and I want these sleeves to be quite fitted. Although I do love puffy sleeves in my shirts, I don't necessarily like them in my sweaters. Although I have seen a couple sweaters styled like that, and it's growing on me, so maybe sometime in the future I will knit a sweater in that style. But yeah, this is almost done. The lace section is absolutely beautiful. And I'm hoping to finish this sweater before my trip. We'll see. So, the next thing I've been working on is my beekeeper's quilt, and I've made some really huge changes to it. So I'm keeping it in this little terrarium for now. And it really decreased in size. If you don't remember from my last episode, I had a huge wire basket full of hexapuffs, but now this is just how many I have, because I pretty much restarted on my whole entire color scheme. So my last color scheme mainly included purples and oranges and really sort of bright, vibrant colors. And I wasn't too crazy about it. And I kept telling myself, oh, once I get more brown yarn, more orange yarn, it'll, you know, become more of the composition and color scheme that I want. But it just wasn't working out. I was not motivated on it because I already didn't like the colors that were already knit up into the quilt. And I already have a fairly colorful hand crocheted blanket right here. So I guess aesthetic wise, that spot was already filled. Like I said, I'm a minimalist, and I'm also sort of attracted to the, I guess, visual aesthetic aspect of minimalism, which is very simple designs. I do like to play around though, if you can't tell. But if I have too many colors in my living environment, like right now, I mean, everything's a mess, but it won't be soon, I get kind of stressed out. And I knew this blanket was sort of becoming an obligation to knit because it was so colorful. And one of my friends, Hortensia, I'm going to have to look up how she pronounces her name again. I do watch her podcast. She's got a very lovely podcast that I'll link down below. Most of her podcast episodes are in French, but she did one in English, and I absolutely loved it. I'll still watch her podcast episodes, even if I don't understand what she's saying. I can still get bits and pieces here and there as she's talking about patterns, and she leaves links to certain patterns and yarn she uses. I would highly recommend it. But she messaged me and said that she loved how my beekeeper's quilt was turning out, and she really wants to, I guess, start her own, but it's a lot of work. And I was agreeing with her, and I just got this idea in my head, like, I feel like I should give this to her because I'm not enjoying it, and just seeing how enthusiastic she was about it really brought a lot of joy to me. So I offered to give it to her, and I think she was a bit surprised, but I sent that over to her with some other cute little yarny treats, and I'm so happy it's in a better home now, and I'm happy because that burden is sort of lifted off of me. Well, that's kind of a weird problem to have, two colorful knit puffs. I don't know. But I love the new color scheme I have, and the color scheme I'm sticking with is mainly white yarn, very natural colored yarns, and every once in a while I'll add in these little blips of indie dyed yarn, so I'll show you some examples. This is Koigu KPPPM. What is that? Koigu's Painter's Palette Premium Merino Yarn. Oh my goodness, this isn't focusing. There we go. But I do really like these, and I'll be including them in my quilt just to add a little bit of variation, and again sort of call back to my more colorful quilt, as well as using up very beautiful indie dyed yarns, because as much as I love natural rustic yarns, there's still a very special place in my heart for indie dyed yarns, and I'm actually planning to go to SSK this summer to the marketplace because I couldn't afford the tickets at the time, and now they're all sold out, of course, for the classes and the retreat. But I'll still be able to go to the marketplace this summer and meet some of my favorite indie dyers. I'm pretty sure Junk Yarn's gonna be there, and Amy from the Stranded podcast, her knitting yarn company Stranded Dye Works. I'm really excited about that. I'm pretty sure Once Upon a Corgi is going to be there. So I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for maybe slightly more toned down yarns, if not more white colored yarns with subtle speckles. I'll keep my eyes peeled for really dark, deep black yarns that I can use in colorwork or orange yarn. Those tend to be my preferences. I don't really explore that much, except for my hair. If you couldn't tell, I dyed my hair pink. Surprise. I forgot that it's been a while. But yeah, now my ends, instead of being that yellow damaged color from bleaching, they're now pink. I considered chopping off my hair to my natural color because I used to have sort of a silver hair or blue hair. I like experimenting a lot with colors in that sense. But I decided to keep the length and just continue to do conditioner treatments on it with hair dye. I use Manic Panic mixed in with conditioner. But anyways, this is the one hex puff I kept from my old quilt. It was a simple little colorwork flower, and I thought it would work quite well with the theme I'm going with. Here's a more colorful one that I absolutely love. He's so cute. I'm just gonna show you all of them so far. This one was hand dyed by me. I used avocados and I believe onion skins to sort of achieve a more variegated color. The stripes sort of bunched up so it looks a little stripy. I have no idea where this yarn came from, but it's a really cute sort of birthday cake pink color. If it's gonna focus. And this one is actually knit from a heavier weight yarn, but I didn't have a project for it, so I figured I could just decrease the stitch count to accommodate for the thicker yarn. This one is actually from a special skein. This is from one of my skeins of Woolen Boon. I believe it's in the colorway Buffy. I don't remember. I don't keep the labels on my yarn. I can't stand having little bits and pieces of paper here and there. It drives me nuts. So this is Woolen Boon Buffy. I believe in her MCN base, merino cashmere nylon sock yarn base. And I think I might actually use some of this for some colorwork mittens. I'm not sure yet. I still have quite a bit left of it because I've only knit up that one little hexapuff. This is knit up from a yarn that I scrapped from a old thrifted sweater, and it has some cashmere thread. I believe it's 25% cashmere, 75% wool. Not exactly sure what kind of wool, but whatever, it's wool. So the next thing I have to talk about is something I'm knitting for my mom. I'm actually going to Montana to help her recover from a surgery, and I thought it might be nice to knit her something just to sort of help her and give her some moral support. So I'm actually giving her one of my garments that I showed in a previous episode, last episode, and it is this chunky knit cardigan. Now I haven't really knit on this at all, but some changes I'm going to be making to it is this is temporarily sewn together just so I could see how it falls, but I'm actually going to be adding in, if you can see here, this is where the front panel and the back panel are attached. I'm going to be adding in a little strip of maybe garter stitch, maybe a cabled strip pattern, just to size up the cardigan just a bit so it fits her comfortably. So I'm not going to rip this whole thing back to change the size. I'm just going to add in that extra panel and then knit the sleeves as they come. And I will be adding big huge pockets so she can carry just the little bits and pieces she'll need for her recovery in her pockets, and not, I don't know, feel too overwhelmed by anything. But I'm hoping to have this done maybe 5 days after I get into Montana, fly in. I'll take her measurements, make sure everything's looking okay, and then I'll just sew it together so she can have it. I'm sorry if the lighting changed. I had to charge up the camera. I'm a mess. But yeah, so I haven't really been working on this. I've just been sort of waiting it out, planning out the schematics of the size change. And I'm pretty sure I'll only have to add maybe five extra inches just so it really wraps around her comfortably. Not that she's so much bigger than me, it's just I want her to feel like this is a hug. And as I was knitting it, it probably wasn't going to close around me that well. It was just going to sort of sit like this and have that little gap here, but I really want that extra available fabric for her so she can really like snuggle up close to it. And I'm actually going to knit this cardigan again in a gray, I'm thinking medium gray color, a little bit kind of like this couch right here, this color, and knit up a cardigan for myself in this pattern. Now that I sort of have a good idea about the schematics and way this cardigan is constructed, I feel free to sort of add in my own little details, as I love to do apparently. But I'm really excited, and I showed my mom and she was so excited, and she even asked me, she was like, "Are you sure you want to give this to me?" And I was like, "Yes." You deserve it. But another thing about this cardigan is it's really inspiring me to want to knit a blanket for myself. So I have this blanket from Target that is kind of looking a little rough, so I'm going to frog it back. It is just a simple seed stitch blanket, and I'm actually going to hold that thread double with another superwash yarn. I know there's a superwash treatment that is not as bad for the environment as a classic superwash treated yarn, because I want a huge chunky cable knit blanket, but I don't want to hand wash it. And I don't trust my apartment's washers with untreated yarn, so I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for that yarn. I'm probably going to look it up tonight, but yeah, that's been on my radar and sort of in my mind planning. I think I'm just gonna sort of grab a little cable chart patterns that I like from different patterns and just sort of mash them all together in one huge blanket. And I can't wait. It's gonna sort of lay on my bed, and I think it'll be a nice little cozy accent to my bed without being too crazy. I like to keep mainly white linens on my bed just because it looks nice. I feel like I'm in a hotel. So yeah, that'll add an extra cozy detail. So anyways, I was talking about wanting to make a blanket out of this, and I was just talking about how I wanted superwash treated yarn since I did not want to hand wash a blanket. I'm already making my beekeeper's quilt, which has a multitude of different kinds of yarn bases in them, so I'm definitely going to have to hand wash my beekeeper's quilt, or at least put it on the gentle cycle in a washer that I trust. But I won't have to worry about that for a while, since it's a pretty long ways now from being finished. So I'm pretty sure that's all I have to talk about regarding my knitting works in progress. So the next thing I have to talk about is I guess acquisitions, yarn acquisitions. I did purchase some yarn recently to work on different sweater projects that I've been wanting to work on for quite some time. So the first thing I purchased was a whole bunch of Holst yarn. This isn't all of it, some of it is still packed away with my things since I just moved, but it's all in this huge basket. And I got 3 colors from Holst Garden because I'm going to be making the twigs pull over. This is what it looks like. Oh. It's very beautiful. So the twigs pull over. I absolutely love the color work in this sweater, and I believe it calls for a fingering weight yarn. And I wanted to use very rustic yarns in this. I did not want any sort of indie-dyed tonal yarn. I really wanted the color work to speak for itself, since the color work charts are absolutely stunning. So for the main color, which is the dark brown background color, I chose the colorway Coffee. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see the marled. It's not really that marled, it's just got many different colors in it. It's a very complex, solid yarn. I love it. That's what I love about rustic yarns, is there's so many colors if you look closely in them. This one is truffle, and there's a little accent color in the colorwork charts, and I won't be using up as much of this color because it is sort of used sparingly, but it's absolutely beautiful. So this is for the third color, and it is a sort of very natural gray with little specks of blue and cream. I absolutely love this color. I want to knit so many things out of this. I'm actually considering using this to knit a Birkin sweater, or the Birkin sweater by Caitln Hunter. I did see a few sweaters where the main color was a darker sort of color, and in the design she uses a very light color, sort of like this cream yarn that I have here from a recycled sweater. But anyways, the second color, which is the second main color, second most prominent color in the pattern, will be white. And so here's Holstgarn Super Soft in their Nougat colorway, and it is so beautiful. I can't wait to knit this up. I think I chose well. So I believe I purchased 10 skeins of the coffee colorway, and then I believe 8 skeins of the white colorway, just because that's what was within my budget, and 4 skeins of the truffle colorway. And if I need any more, I'll probably purchase more. I wasn't settled on which size I wanted to knit yet, but I am looking towards the larger sizes because I want it to be a very big, chunky pullover that I can just wear over anything. And I have to say that Holstgarn Super Soft is a very beautiful yarn. It's probably one of my most favorite yarns, and it's very affordable. I'm pretty sure I didn't spend over $50 US when I ordered that yarn. I don't remember because it's been a while. But it's very soft next to my skin. If I hold it up to my neck, which is the most sensitive part of my body, I guess when it comes to rustic pullovers, that's the part that tends to get bothered the most. And not that it is physically itchy, it just gets very red. And so I actually did a little test swatch, and I held it around my neck for a couple hours, and I didn't get any irritation. My skin is very pink at times. I am very pale, if you can see, and I sunburn easily. Changes in temperature make my skin irritated. Like, I can go outside and it'll be very hot, and within 2 minutes I look like a lobster. The smallest amount of exercise makes me turn red. Hot tubs make me turn red. Allergies, I don't know, synthetic fibers and certain pieces of clothing irritate my skin. So it's not necessarily that wearing rustic sweaters makes me uncomfortable. It's just that my skin won't look that great around this area. But I'm finding I'm getting a bit more used to rustic yarns in general. I used to wear turtlenecks with sweaters that contained rustic yarns, but now I don't really have to do that because the irritation shows up less and less. I think it's just something you have to get used to. So the next, I guess, yarn acquisition, I didn't really purchase it, but a lovely friend sent it to me. Akira Yarns, she is, I believe, Rosemary. Let me look. I believe her name is Rosemaryten on Ravelry. I'll leave a link to her down below, but she's got an Etsy shop filled with beautiful hand-dyed yarns. I actually caught one of her shop updates today, and I don't usually actively seek out shop updates with indie dyers. I'll just buy if they have any extra yarns left, because I never purchase yarn really, or I never purchase it as often as other people. I definitely always purchase with a project in mind, and I tend to find that with indie dyers it's a bit more difficult to plan my projects because the range of colors is so different, in a sense where in one skein you can have so many different colors that it might not lend itself as well to certain colorwork projects that I like. However, I have to say Caitln Hunter's projects, a lot of her colorwork sweaters lend themselves very well to indie dyed yarns because the colorwork is very chunky, big and in your face, and you can really see the difference in the yarns. But for a sweater such as the Twigs sweater, I would have to say that I would want to shy away from indie dyed yarn more so than other yarn. But she sent me a wonderful skein in the mail while I was moving, and it is this orange skein of single ply, 100% merino yarn, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's not too tonal. It's a little bit tonal, of course, because it's hand dyed, but I absolutely love it. It is so beautiful, and other than gray, black, and white, and brown, I have to say that oranges and pinks usually are my favorite colors. You can tell by my skirt, it's got a lot of orange in it. I never go for florals unless there's a considerable amount of orange in the pattern. So I guess other than those colors, orange is my favorite color, and this is absolutely the most perfect shade of orange. And I'm actually planning to put this in my Alyeska sweater, another pattern by Caitln Hunter. I'm just knitting up all of her patterns. I love them. I'm really into colorwork recently too. Or have I always been? I'm not sure. I just have been noticing a lot of really amazing colorwork patterns come out. I'm probably just getting really inspired by Skein Deer, Ellie of Skein Deer Knits podcast. All of her colorwork is beautiful. But this will be going into my Alyeska sweater, and see, this is her merino feather base. But her yarn shop is Akira Yarns, and if you just go down to the link below, you'll find a link to her Etsy shop. But I think I went off on a tangent there. I actually did catch one of her shop updates today while I was at work. I sort of took my break early so I could go look through her shop, and I purchased 2 skeins. One was a very beautiful gold skein of yarn, and another was a I think one-of-a-kind skein. It was a very toned down baby blue with specks of hot pink and yellow. And the reason I want that yarn is because it really reminded me of I guess a field of wildflowers, and I actually want to use that in my Birkin sweater by Caitln Hunter. Yeah, I warned you guys that I had a lot of future projects that were going to be by her. I'm just starting to now accumulate the yarn for those projects, so I just kind of want to slam them out. But in my Birkin sweater, I'll also be adding in this yarn as well as this skein of Freya by Valkyrie Fibers. I think it will look beautiful in the Birkin sweater as one of the rows of flowers. And so I haven't made up my mind yet on whether I want a darker colored Birkin sweater for the main color or a light colored Birkin sweater for the main color, but I have a feeling that this dark color will play with the other colors beautifully. And so I don't have all the colors lined up yet, but yeah, I don't know, I'm just really feeling that. And I think it'll look great in my wardrobe as well. So another project I'm going to sort of be revisiting is the sweater that I had finished knitting around my first episode. If you can't tell, the neckline is really big, and I've been looking at this sweater and trying to pair it with things in my wardrobe. And the one thing I sort of didn't take into consideration when knitting this is I really need cardigans right now. I literally did a huge clear out of my wardrobe, and now I don't have any cardigans. And I mean, it's summer now, so I won't be needing cardigans. Driving on my way home to work, or on my way home from work, I was sweating really, really badly. My AC doesn't work, but I like to have cardigans just to sort of carry around with me as a comfort object. So, and I find with wool cardigans, sometimes it sort of acts as an insulator against the sun. I guess in short distances if I'm going outside. I just always like to have a covering with me so I don't get sunburnt. I'm the type of person that if I stand outside, I can sort of feel my skin burning. If I'm out there too long, if it's too bright, that might just be the sun warming my skin, but as soon as I feel that, I know something's going on. And I don't like being sunburnt. It's honestly the most embarrassing thing I can imagine. I guess just for me personally, I don't really care if somebody else is sunburnt. I just hate getting looks with my red nose and peeling face. But I'm going to frog back the front panel and knit up 2 side panels for a cardigan. And so the back will look the same, the back and front look the same on this sweater currently. But I have a feeling I might be able to get this cardigan done before my trip to Montana. I don't know, but it is in 2 weeks, but if I start tonight, I might be able to finish it. I don't know. But what I keep doing and what sort of motivated me to do this is I kept trying it on one way and sort of seeing how it would work with my wardrobe, and imagining the other half being there with a cabled panel down the side, and I sort of fell in love with it. And I definitely would wear this thing a lot more if it were a cardigan. I would definitely add elbow patches because I'm just that kind of girl. But I don't know, I just think it would look so amazing as a cardigan with big huge pockets on the side. I definitely would extend the length just a bit if it were a cardigan, so I could wear it with my skirts. I find my skirt to cardigan proportion is really important. I don't really like small cardigans, I'm finding out, unless they're intentionally cropped and buttoned up. But that will be something I'm working on. And I actually didn't weave in the ends in this. I don't know if you remember from last episode, I didn't weave in the ends. And I think that was a sign that I was going to frog part of it back anyway, so I don't feel too bad in doing this. I'm actually really excited to get that done. So I think I will just apply this cable pattern on either side, because I really love that Quilt pattern. That's what initially drew me to the sweater. And I'll just sew it up as normal and then pick up stitches all from the bottom, all around the neckline and all the way down for a ribbing. And I have a feeling I might make a sort of shawl neckline rib, and I might add buttons. I don't know, I really love the look of buttons, but I don't have any with me currently. I might just add a few buttonholes just in case. The buttons are mainly there for aesthetics, but it'd be kind of stupid to have buttons without buttonholes, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But the next things I have to talk about are just some things I've been working on in sewing. I've been working on a lot of skirts. I went thrifting and I sort of hit the jackpot with finding skirt patterns that I like. And when I find a skirt in a thrift shop, I usually don't pay attention to the size of it unless it's like an extra small, teeny tiny tube skirts. I don't like tube skirts. I don't really like the silhouette they create, so I always watch out for those. But the skirts I look for in thrift shops are usually big, flowy skirts where I can just chop them up however I want and still have a considerable amount of yardage left to make a full skirt for myself. So the first skirt that I worked on was a size extra large, and it had a zipper down the front, buttons down the back, I guess for style, and it was not gathered or pleated or anything. It was just sort of a very smooth, seamed, clean-cut skirt made of a very flowy floral fabric. That's kind of a tongue twister. And like I said, I love floral fabrics that contain like orange flowers or creamy flowers, anything on the warmer side. But I made myself a little elastic waistband skirt. Ooh, I missed a thread. 1 minute. And I just achieved this by chopping off the top hem quite a ways and using that extra scrap fabric to make a waistband. And I've been wearing it quite a bit, so it's a little bit wrinkled. I'm going to have to iron that out. But here you can see the seams where I sort of had to, not really pattern match, but sew together some pieces to make a waistband for myself. And I think it looks alright since it's symmetrical. It kind of looks like a functional style feature of the skirt. And it has an elastic waistband. I think I did pretty good on it. It was my first ever elastic waistband, and it retained a lot of stretch. And I actually scrapped the elastic for this waistband from another skirt that I'll show here soon. I just seam ripped it out of the waistband and added it into this one because in that skirt I knew I wasn't going to want an elastic waistband, and in this one I was. And it sort of acts as my sweatpants around the house. I do wear this out, and although it does look very short, it's not too short. It's just above my knees, and it is so cozy. I love just wearing this with a band t-shirt, a graphic t-shirt. I don't own that many t-shirts, but this sort of adds a little extra flexibility to my wardrobe because I don't like owning sweatpants or PJ pants. So these are sort of my, this is sort of my skirt for relaxing around the house or just throwing on to go to the grocery store. The next skirt I worked on was very similar in construction. And this was the skirt that I acquired the elastic band from, and it is a very simple gingham checker patterned fabric. Typically you'll see this fabric in navy blue, but I actually found one where the dark main color was black, so I was pretty excited about that. I am going to make a few changes to this skirt. I am going to draw in the waist a little bit because it is just a tad bit too large for me. So it sort of sags a bit. I can wear it with a belt and it will look alright, but you can still kind of see where the waistband cups out away from my body. So I've just been wearing this with really flowy big t-shirts. I'm really into jersey t-shirts right now because they're the only thing I can wear in this kind of weather when I go outside. And I have 2 extra little squares of this fabric that I'm going to put little visible bucket pockets on and add in some belt loops, because this just seems like the kind of skirt that would have the belt loops as a feature. I don't know. But I simply just cut away the original waistband. You can see it here. And it has those cute little buttons on it. I shortened it a bit. The skirt was sort of shaped in a triangle shape, so once I cut it off from around here, there was, of course, extra yardage, so I could add in a couple little gathers. And I think once I redo this waistband, I might make it a tad bit shorter, just so I get more yardage to add in those, to add in a couple more gathers, because as you can see here, they're not too substantial. So right now this skirt hits me on the knees. It's very cute. I am finding I'm preferring longer skirts nowadays, but every once in a while I do like to wear short skirts with leggings. I don't know, I think it looks kind of cute. But yeah, I really like wearing this. This matches a lot of blouses in my wardrobe. And I used to have a sort of blue-gray plaid skirt that I showed in a previous podcast that is actually up on my Depop shop right now. I just found that the blue wasn't sort of playing well with the warmer colors in my wardrobe, so I decided to move it on to a different home. If you're interested in that, you can go look at my Depop shop. I'm at Go in a Sweater on Depop. That's my old username for all my social medias. And Depop was just the only place where I couldn't change my username. But yeah, you can find me on there. If you have any clothes you'd like to swap, I might be interested, but just be warned, I am a very picky swapper. And the last skirt is a lot more interesting than these guys. These are just simple gathered skirts. But my next skirt, it's still sort of a work in progress. And it is this cute little paper bag pleated skirt. So this was originally an extra large, and I chopped away the bottom hemline, so this whole part can sort of be considered the bottom hemline of the skirt. And I measured out the yardage that I had to play with, and I believe the yardage allowed me to add in 24 pleats, even in round, once I subtracted the, I believe, 2 inches of these waistbands. And this skirt is very beautiful. It's very stretchy. However, it does not contain an elastic waistband. Here you can see all the pleats. I still have to sort of tack them down. But this is I-cord corduroy fabric, so that means it has a one-way stretch. So if you stretch it vertically, you can tell it's not going anywhere. And it's got these little tiny lines. It's a very fine I-cord, so I don't think you'll be able to see it, but it stretches sideways quite a bit. So with keeping that in mind, I knew I was going to be able to have a relatively tight-fitting skirt around the waist with negative ease. So I think I went for a 26-inch waist. My waist is about 28 inches. So I went to 26 inches, maybe a little bit below 26 inches. And I just gathered the skirt in such a way to where it would shrink. So this doesn't contain any waistband really, it's just the skirt with some clever sewing. And this was really difficult for me to do initially because my sewing machine isn't the best. I need to get it serviced. But I just hemmed off the top part to make it look a bit more finished and added in the pleats. And it's very cute. I did not have to do anything except for those two steps really. Hem the top, add in the pleats. I feel like I'm repeating myself. But it's very cute. And I have two big patches from the top part of the skirt that are going onto this, and it will have two huge bucket pockets. I think this looks really cute with a belt wrapped around it. And I think my goal with my sewing wardrobe now will just be to start sewing out basics. Right now I'm sewing up some pinafore dresses and long skirts. So one long I-cord corduroy skirt and also a longer sort of pinafore style dress with suspenders. It's going to be really cute, but I'm hoping to get all of that done before my trip to Montana, so I have sort of an all-new wardrobe to wear. But yeah, that's sort of been all I've been working on recently. It seems like a bit more now that I've actually talked about it, but it's getting dark and the light's going away, so I think I'll wrap up this episode. You can find me as Pikku Kimalainen on all social media accounts such as Ravelry and Instagram. On Depop, I'm Goat in a Sweater. I reopened up my shop because I recently went through a large declutter, so if you like any of my vintage clothing, you might find something similar to it on my shop. I don't know. Oh, and on Ravelry, I noticed that my show notes weren't uploading in the Ravelry group, so I'm going to be fixing that soon. That probably seemed weird to some viewers, like me mentioning the Ravelry group and the show notes, but not actually having the notes uploaded. I know I did the notes on my phone, so I wonder if maybe my phone was having a problem with connecting to the internet. I'm not sure. As you can see, it's looking a little bit rough. It's got a huge crack on the side. But yeah, that's kind of annoying because I spent a lot of time adding links, and so now I'm going to have to do it for 4 episodes. But there has been a lot of activity in the introductions thread, and it's been really fun seeing all of your responses. I put a little questionnaire in the introductions thread so everybody can sort of introduce themselves without not knowing what to say, because I tend to have a problem with that as well. I think I might wait until next episode to answer those questions, just because I've been so busy and I don't have the time to look through it right now. But thank you for watching.